You are listening to Single Smart Female, Romantic Fairy Godmama Edition. Today's show is sponsored by thecouragekit.com. Are you tired of meeting craptastic men, going on craptastic dates, and feeling craptastically inept at dating and love? Let me rework your dating experiences, single lady. Fun, pleasure, and magic included. No experience required. I'll see you at thecouragekit.com. Hey, single smart female. Jen Burton here, romantic fairy godmama to smart, successful single women around the world. Today's topic, how to do a first date right. How to do it the right way. If you're wondering, is that even possible? The answer is yes, of course it is. But most women have no clue how to set this up in a way that she loves almost every one of her first dates. So let's talk about that today. Let's talk about, first off, why is it even important in your dating experiences? As you might know, and as you've heard other women say, dating is mostly deemed as a necessary evil. I hear a lot of, I can't stand dating. Dating's just not for me. I don't want to do it. And your first dates and every date you have thereafter can actually be shifted no matter, regardless of whom you go out with, so that you create incredible memories and experiences that'll last you a lifetime and set you up to be the adored woman that I know you are. So let's talk about that. And how do we get to that? What format do we go through to set up each date? And the first thing I want to tell you to do is that you need to put on your romantic researcher hat as you go into this. So instead of scaring yourself and overwhelming yourself, you're going to think of every date as romantic research. So we women think that we already know everything we need to know about ourselves romantically. And the truth is that we don't even have 1/10 of a clue. Dating is your opportunity to discover who you are romantically in the context of dating, and then eventually for a relationship if that's what you want. So put on your researcher hat. Understand that this is a great hat to wear and you are exploring different romantic options. Now, the second piece of that is that I'm inviting you into my world of being an adored woman, which means an adored woman, almost under any circumstance, can have an amazing time on a first date, regardless of whether or not she sees that person as long-term romantic potential. So that's the couple things that you're going to set the expectation of having fun. You're learning about yourself. You're exploring yourself. You're not looking at this as something you just have to do if you ever want to have a relationship. Because if you go into a first date with I just have to do this, you might have a good date, but you've really set yourself up to have a poor date regardless of what's actually happening. Now, the second piece of this, and something that frustrates the living shit out of me, is our addictions to phones. So if you were on a date, and I know guys do this sometimes, but I want you to be the example. I don't want you checking your phone all the time. I teach man-tourage dating here at Single Smart Female, which is dating more than one man at a time until you meet your forever man, or indefinitely if you so choose. And I know a lot of you have that one guy that's on your list that you think the world of, and you're always checking your phone to see if he calls. And then you end up doing this on dates with other guys as well. You're always referencing your phone. Ladies, put your phone up especially during a first date, during any date for that matter, and get in the moment. Because that's where life resides. It doesn't reside on your phone. And if you're not willing to take a step back from those phones for a while, and I get it, I know the biochemical addiction phase that's going on with these phones. I have had to deal with my own version of it. But the thing is that we are missing out on the real magic of life and the real opportunities at having an amazing time because we're unwilling to put our phone down for a minute. So regardless if it's you looking for the other guy, your top guy, you're missing out on the potential with this other guy. You're missing out on learning pieces of yourself. You're missing out on learning how to have fun with any man, anytime, if you so choose, which is a very powerful place to be. So put those phones up during during a first date, during any date for that matter. Okay, number 3. You've probably heard me say this, and I'm going to go through this again. We teach men who we are and what we like. If you assume all men are supposed to know what all women like, you're going to be gravely disappointed. Why? Because every woman's a little different. So not only is it your job to discover who you are romantically and start thinking about the things that light you up and the things that you would like to do, you need to convey that to him. One of the best times to do that is throughout an entire relationship, but the best time is especially at the beginning, because that's when most men are the most inquisitive about that. They start asking, and they stop asking eventually because women just say, oh, whatever, and they don't give them anything to work on. So if he asks you, and he probably will, what would you like to do for a first date? Please, for the love of all that is adored, do not tell him whatever, okay? Also, if he asks you if you'd like to hang out, you're not a hangout kind of woman. Say, are you asking me out on a date? We've discussed this. I will continue to discuss this. You are not, I am going to hang out with you, woman. Just let's see if this is going to evolve into something more. You set the expectation without having to tell him exactly what the expectation is by saying things. Are you asking me out on a date? Really, really important. So when he asks you, what do you want? Again, I said, we're not saying whatever. Not agreeing to necessarily coffee dates, dinner dates, other kinds of dates. I want you to choose an activity date. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, I can't even think of an activity date, this is when you get your notepad out, ladies, and you start writing down and letting the creative part of your brain, and you all have it, even if you've been working really hard on the logical part, the creative part of your brain gets the opportunity to start brainstorming all the different date ideas that you would like to have. They can be very small and meaningful, such as going for ice cream and a walk throughout the park. It can be actually just going for a walk sometimes if you're not the ice cream kind of girl. It can be playing certain games. It can be going to an arcade, bowling, coffee shop. And this is the only place I'd ever say a coffee shop at to have coffee is a coffee shop with board games, with an activity to do. Why am I telling you to do an activity? Well, everybody gets nervous on a first date. Having an activity, something to focus on, gives your brain a break so that the conversation can flow a little bit more naturally. Connection can happen more easily. We put a lot of pressure on people to be these amazing conversationalists right at the beginning, and then we determine that's whether or not we have a connection. But what happens if one of you kind of shuts down? I know women do this all the time. We get really nervous and we shut down, and he doesn't get to see the really enchanting part of you because you've kind of gone cold, and he can feel that because your nerves are there. But yet, if you have an activity that you're moving through, then your conversation will start to catch up, and he gets to see other pieces of you, and you get to recognize, especially when a man gets caught up in your beauty, he might not be a great conversationalist right at the beginning. And that's okay. That doesn't mean he won't become one. But we women also need to be forgiving of the fact that men don't have this whole dating thing figured out, especially when they're really interested in you at the beginning. They get lost in your beauty. They get nervous too. They get sweaty pits too, and sweaty other parts of their body. It makes them just as nervous, and they say things or freeze up or do a lot of things that can turn you off. But if you give them an activity, you're going to give them the opportunity to relax their brain a little bit and then start to build up the conversation and the natural flow of things so that you two can build connection. Which brings me to number 4, talking about that nervousness that guys experience and that we do as well. I want you to understand that guys on first dates are going to make some mistakes, okay? They're not going to say everything perfectly. Sometimes they're going to say some really stupid shit. And I need you to check your jaded and hostile perceptions at the door. And I know a lot of you have very legitimate reasons for being jaded and hostile towards men. You've had some shit experiences in the past. But if you want to step into my world of being an adored woman, if you want to date in a way that makes you so powerful that you can draw in love anytime you want, then you need to start to let go of some of these things and give these men a true opportunity to win with you, which you cannot do if you walk straight in and ask them to basically chip away every bad thing a guy has ever done to you. That's super important, ladies. Check it at the door. Remember, you're a researcher. You're going into this with a completely new, open, blank canvas of, hey, I'm going to discover who I am romantically, and I'm going to invite some amazing men along for the ride. And when one of them steps up, if I want to be in a relationship, I'll then decide. But check the hostility at the door. I also want you to know and really remember that sometimes we hear guys say things and it was because they were nervous, it came across incorrectly. So let me give you an instance. I was talking to a lady a while back who got very pissed off at me because we women like to tell stories about how rude guys are on first dates. And the guy, after listening to the story, and this is just a short part of the story, so I know from all the work I do that he got caught up in her beauty. And he said something when they went to go eat some barbecue. Okay, they went to go have barbecue, and he said to her, because she was from a place that you eat barbecue with your hands, he said something to her, something like, that's bold, or something like that. And she took that as he was trying to insult her. I know from all the experience I have, some of these statements that you take as insulting, a lot of times are compliments that we refuse to hear. Meaning he was nervous. He didn't know exactly how that would land. He said it before he, really thought about it. And then she basically dismissed him as this guy was demeaning her when he wasn't at all. And this happens all the time, ladies. So really start to reconsider. You're going to know when something's blatantly abusive, and he's really taking a shot at you, if he's talking, if he's flirting with other women, things like that. But some of these things that are mild, you need to actually run them through the lens of, was he complimenting me in a way that maybe I just haven't heard before? That's really important, ladies, because we're shutting too many guys down because they're nervous. I'll give you another example. One of my former clients years ago, when I first met her, we had gone outside. And by the way, this is when I used to smoke. And she had asked a man for a cigarette. He turned at her and I saw the look on his face. He froze, completely froze, because he got lost in her beauty, stunned by her beauty. And he couldn't respond to her. And she looked at him and said, "Do you have a cigarette?" And he said, "Oh, no, I'm sorry, I don't. I wish I did." She goes, "Get away from me. You're useless." Like, what the fuck? And a lot of us women, regardless of us not saying these words, we're putting that energy out because we're so pissed off at guys in general. And, some of us have really legitimate reasons to be pissed off. But again, check your hostility at the door first. You're doing research. It's no harm, no foul. And we'll talk about if it does escalate to something more, but I really need you to start thinking of men as men are wired to want to please us. They want to pleasure us. They want to make us happy, but they can only contribute to that for us, okay? So I want you to think of it when you're talking to men as this man, 98% of the time, men are trying to figure out ways to do those things for you, to do all those good things. And then if you need to, if it's blatantly obvious that that's not it, then that's when we have good boundaries, something that we can talk about. Now, if you need a lot of, or even a little help with this, one of the places we work on this the most is in my program, The Courage Kit. And you can go to thecouragekit.com. Okay. Number 5. I want you to give him a second date, even if there wasn't instant chemistry. Now, I know I hear a lot of women screaming right now, but Jen, what? Why? What the hell is the purpose of that? And I'm going to tell you right now, many of you ladies are dismissing these guys because the instant chemistry wasn't there. These men could end up rocking your world in a way that no instant chemistry man could ever do. Let me give you an instance. By the way, chemistry is malleable. You're going to hear me say that time and time again. Just as you can lose chemistry over the years, you can also increase chemistry over the years, and you can increase it very quickly. You just need to know what you're doing in reference to yourself and men. Now, with that said, let me give you an example. I had a client who had never been in a long-term relationship, ever, and she was in her mid-40s. And in fact, at the time, she was still a virgin. Beautiful woman. So I know we always think of things as, oh, well, maybe she's not as attractive according to society standards, blah, 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 blah. No, that's not why people don't find relationships. Lack of relationships or all kinds of relationship issues or things, it's all about stuff that's going on internally versus externally. There's not an external component, and I don't give a shit who says what. I don't care. It's not true. So if you're struggling, this is the place to be, because I'm going to help you address some of the internal stuff going on versus all the external stuff that you can keep doing, the plastic surgery, the makeup, all those different beauty rituals. And I think they're great if they make you feel better, but if they don't, just stop, because they're not helping you romantically anyways. Now, with that said, she went on a date with this first guy, and the guy showed up and he smelled a little musty because he had left his clothes in the washer for a little too long before he dried them. So that was a turnoff. And I get it. Olfactory can be a turnoff thing. But she was telling me other things about the date. And I said, you know what, love, I would really like you to consider going on a second date with this guy. They are married now. They have an amazing relationship, and his clothes never stink. Not because she does them, but because she told him about it and he made sure that never happened again. Things happen. Things happen on that first date, and that because of our resistance to finding love at times, because it puts us in a vulnerable place. We have so many fears around it. We will push amazing guys away and tell it's because we didn't have chemistry, because this happened. So I need you to give him a second date, even if there wasn't chemistry. In fact, when I was doing my Mantourage dating experiences, there were several guys I went on several dates with for a while just to learn about myself and to see if the chemistry would build. And some of them it did, and some of them it didn't. My husband was one of them that it did. And I also, but I really fell in love with being treated well by men. And men fell in love with me because I was the first woman in their life that they felt really enjoyed being around them and truly appreciated them. That is something most men are missing. With most women, what happens is she feels constantly judged by him, or he feels that she doesn't have any boundaries around him. Both of those things don't work. So really think about that, okay? I want you to give him a second date, even if it wasn't instant chemistry. Remember, ladies, we're doing research here. We're stepping into my world of being an adored woman. You're going through the stages of being an adored woman, which is something that I teach in the Courage Kit. So you are opening yourself up to love through these stages, really learning how to connect with men in a way that's irresistible to them and leads to the love that you want. Okay, number 6. I don't want you to be wishy-washy about your interest. If he says he'd like to go out again, I want you to actually be a little bit forward and say, that would be great. Why don't you call me on this day at this time so that we can discuss logistics. Let me do that in a fun way, in a playful way, because it does sound very, very forward. But why do I ask you to do this? When you let a guy know his interest, a couple things happen. I've discussed this before, but a couple things happen. When you let a guy know your interest, it automatically, men are drawn to women that like them, not women that have made them the center of their universe before they've decided they want to be with them, but women that like them and enjoy their company, okay? So when you reciprocate, instead of say, okay, well, call me sometime, you set in his brain, you're instructing him, A, I am interested in getting to know you better, but B, you're setting him up to adore you and to win with you by giving him very mild instructions on how he can make you happy. Okay? So something you can say. He says, I really had a great time tonight. I'd like to see you again. You say, ooh, that sounds promising. Can you call me on Wednesday at 5 and we can plan our next rendezvous? Again, it's a little bold, but I want you to be a little bold, because we women too often become bitter and resentful because we're never bold. We never ask for what we want. We just I can expect things to happen. We don't do that in the rest of our lives, but we do here in our romantic endeavors, because we're being taught that, strong, sexy women, bold women turn guys off. No, they don't. You're just going to interact with them a little bit. You're going to soften some pieces of it, and you're going to strengthen others. This is a great one to strengthen. Again, it sets him up. Plus, if you don't hear from him at Wednesday at 5, you've already set your brain to relax because you know at that point there's a good chance he's not going to contact you right then, and you're not sitting there checking your phone all the time, which I don't want you to do anyways, but this helps you do that more. I actually want you ladies, I love our phones, I get it, but I want us to take steps back from our phone. It's not helping us in the way that we want it to, and it's not just in our dating lives. So I want you to feel more fully connected to life, and that's one way we can do it. Okay. Now, those are some great ways to set up a first date. You're going to have some adventure, some fun. We mentioned on our previous episode a young lady who was doing just this, and she got her first kiss on a gondola and during the sunset. These magical moments you're creating because you're doing things and tweaking things differently instead of just the plain old, hey, let's meet up for coffee, let's text all day, let's do this, let's go to have a drink. All those things do not set women up in a way to be truly adored. You're taking your power of being adored into your own hands and facilitating it and setting men up to win with you. The ones that are worth your time will step up. The ones that are not will not. And then you've got clear-cut evidence, hey, this guy is not for me. And you're not ending up doing things with somebody and feeling connected to somebody who doesn't have the power to step up for you. Okay? So let's move into safety because first dates especially, all dates, but first dates especially, safety is a concern. And all of my adored women are safety women. Safety first, pleasure second. You're going to combine the two. Okay. So number one, you're going to be a safety girl first. How do you do that? You let a trusted friend know where you are going to be. And if the date turns, you let them know. If you end up somewhere else, you let them know about that too. Okay? Regardless of where you meet him, you need to take your own vehicle for the first handful of dates at least. Why? Or you can have a trusted friend drop you off and pick you up kind of thing. Although I recommend your own vehicle or public transportation, access to it. That's really important. Now, why are we doing this? Well, because you need always to have an out. Not because I want you to just bail on somebody, but because if there's a real issue, you need an out. Next, I don't want you to spend the majority of your time talking about your kids, especially on the first date. Kid things are brief. Ladies, why is this? He doesn't need to know how great of a mom you are. A lot of us that are moms end up talking exclusively about our kids because we haven't discovered who we are romantically. He needs to connect with you. He needs to fall in love with you, not with how great of a mom you are. You can be an amazing mom and that'll be a cherry on top thing, but he needs to connect with you. That's also a safety issue, which most of you will never encounter, but that's really, really important. Do not talk a whole bunch about your kids. He needs to earn the opportunity for several dates down the line. Your kids are your protected commodity. Okay? Next. This is really important, so hear me. Hear me very clearly, ladies. If he becomes truly disrespectful during the date, excuse yourself and leave. That's where your vehicle comes in. All right? None of my adored women are any longer staying on dates where the guy is being truly disrespectful. If he's insulting your looks, now make sure you know the difference between playing, although I don't think playing with looks is ever really, really playing. But if he's insulting your looks, if he calls you a name, if he tries to make you feel really stupid, if he starts incessantly commenting on other females and their beauty and their body types, and he talks about how you can improve yours, or and just is incessantly referring to these women, unless it's a conversation that you initiated and wanted to have, you need to check out. So you excuse yourself and you leave. No more staying on dates at any point in time where the guy is being truly disrespectful, okay? You owe that not only to yourself, you're setting him up to understand and to learn that quality women, and we're all becoming even higher quality women than we already are. We're pretty awesome so far, but we're getting better. We're not going to tolerate that kind of behavior. If he wants our attention, If he wants a quality woman's attention, he is going to have to learn how to treat women properly, okay? Not yours to fix, just yours to leave. That's it. Finally, this is a big one, and I know that some of us might get a little triggered on this, but this is really, really important. I want you to avoid first dates at homes and significant alcohol consumption as well if you're not interested in first date sex. Okay. So I wish we did live in a world right now where we could go anywhere we wanted to and do anything we wanted to do and there weren't any consequences. But the fact is that even though men need to learn differently, and I have had first dates that were at homes and that the guy was completely respectful, but I don't suggest it. I don't suggest it to any woman. If you're not interested in having sex, I think it's a great precedent to set him up to take you out to do fun activities first instead of the whole Netflix and chill shit. Why? Because what happens is twofold. Expectation for some men, and for other men, just a really big hopefulness that you will end up having sex because yes, ladies, they do want to have sex with you. It doesn't make them slime for wanting to have sex with you. That's a natural response to their physical attraction to you. But if that's not what you are interested in and you want him to connect with you differently first, by the way, if you are totally about having first date sex, you go for it. I 100% support you. I'm specifically talking to the ladies who don't like this or have found themselves in situations, which I have, by the way. I used to do this more often than I'd like to admit before I started my magical dating experiences. But yes, I had really poor boundaries around this and ended up sleeping with a couple guys that I don't want to say regret, but if I was to go back, I would probably make a different choice. And a couple things came into play with that. And the first thing was those situations easily lend themselves to sex. Okay, so something to consider. Plus, the other thing, like I mentioned, women get really pissed off that men don't take them out after a while. Well, a lot of them started off by just hanging out. So you're setting the precedent. You are showing him that spending time with you means a multitude of things. It doesn't just mean hanging out all the time. He doesn't get to just see you Netflix and chill, have sex, and never take you out, all right? Because otherwise, most of you get really pissed off and then you're writing me, why is he doing this? Well, you started off that way. You taught him that was the way to treat you. So I want you to take that back into your control, your power, and do things differently. Don't be pissed off at yourself because it happened. Don't be pissed off at me because I'm saying it. Just let it go, drop it, and do it differently, okay? Because you deserve the things that you want. Now, let's talk about alcohol. As I am getting older, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I almost never have alcohol. Is it because I think alcohol is horrible? No, I don't. But I think as a society, we lean too much on it. And I'm just going to be straight up with you ladies. And I want you to be able, just like with cell phones, like I'm working on as well, I want you to have a life of human connection instead of phone digital connection. I want you to be able to connect with people and have an amazing time. You know, those party hard nights where it's not alcohol or pill or drug based. I remember those days. I used to do them a lot, especially when I lived in Mexico. I was a big partier. I want you to know what it feels like to have that much fun without having to have the hangover afterwards, the effects of alcohol afterwards. Having a glass of wine or a stiff drink here or there, I have no problem with, but I just want you to make sure that you're not pushing it to a limit that's making you feel out of control with it. Really important. I want you, especially on dates, I always encourage 2 drinks or less. I'm actually to the point I encourage 1 drink or none because I want you to know how to have fun, how to have amazing time as an adored woman without having to alter your blood alcohol level in order to do it. I think you deserve everything you want. I'm going to make that very, very clear. So be willing to examine that piece of your life and reconsider how much you are taking in. If you're taking in, you can say, Jen, I'm really good with where I'm at. Or if you're one of those ladies who has been thinking about this for a while, it's time to look at it. It's ultimately your decision. I will say though, on dates, 1 to 0. Why? Because regardless of our right to drink, alcohol alters our inhibitions, especially when concerning sex. We do things, we say things. They say it's a truth serum. It's fucking bullshit. I used to lie my ass off when I would drink. But we do things and say things and make choices that do not make us feel powerful later. And it's not even like vulnerability. Vulnerability is powerful. These are choices that we make based on our blood alcohol level, what's going on in our brain at the time. And it's like we're misfiring a lot. I don't want you to make decisions based on that. I want you to make decisions based on who you are in all 6 of your senses. So please, if you're one of the ladies, again, who has been thinking about her alcohol consumption, it's okay. It's okay to go out with your girlfriends and have 1 instead of 3 or 4. It's okay to have events and dates that don't revolve around that. There's so many amazing things that we can do in this world. So I want you to consider it. And especially if you're not interested in having sex on the first date. Okay, lover girl. So there you have it. How to do a first date right. 1 that is going to set you up for the love life that you want. 1 that's going to empower you to ask for the things that you want in a relationship and know how to inspire men to give you anything you want. I want you to feel alive when it comes to love. I want you to feel alive when it comes to dating. I want you to experience how amazing men can be in your life. And it all starts with the first date. Thank you, lover girl, for joining me on this romantic fairy godmama edition of Single Smart Female. Don't forget to text this episode to all of your single smart girlfriends, as well as visit me at singlesmartfemale.com. I'll talk to you next time, and here's to you having everything you want in life and love. Today's show is sponsored by thecouragekit.com. Are you tired of meeting craptastic men, going on craptastic dates, and feeling craptastically inept at dating and love? Let me rework your dating experiences, single lady. Fun, pleasure, and magic included. No experience required. I'll see you at thecouragekit.com.